I grew up in the context of a very mission-oriented home, always being in close contact with my family in Kenya, always being aware of people who had needs that we didn't have. But it wasn't like, oh, they are less fortunate than you. It was, no, they need us. We belong to them and they belong to us. We were in a position where we could help, and so we must. It's not something that would be nice. Like, wouldn't it be nice if we, helped out our neighbor? No, you have to, you must. And who is your neighbor? Like, to really think, like, who is your neighbor? That you don't necessarily need to go across the world. Like my dad did, and that was really great. And people go on all these mission trips and everything, but your neighbor might be in your house. Your neighbor might be your child, might be your spouse, might be your next door neighbor. You can love someone right in your own neighborhood, right in your own home, in a really radical way. August 1st, 2007, the 35W bridge fell into the Mississippi River. My dad was on it. He was on the phone with my mom, and all of a sudden he just had to go. And so the bridge fell into the water, and they didn't find him for 9 days. They found his car after 7 days, but 2 days later after that, they found him from the waist up in a different person's vehicle where he was trying to save a mother and her child. And his arms were outstretched towards the child's car seat. So it was very clear, and there was enough eyewitness testimony that he had survived it and then gone back in. But he didn't have to go back in. And I've thought about that a lot. Like, what would that have been like if he hadn't, or if he had tried and given up right before? And I think it would have racked him with guilt that he could have, that was his yes. That was another time for him to say, yes, Lord, I'm listening. You teach your kids to love their neighbor and to love one another and to love as Christ loves. But it's an entirely different thing to actually live that out, saying, this is my life laid down for you. And with my dad, when he died, that was the most radical way that he could have ever demonstrated that. So this is mid-afternoon, we need something to do. And this is definitely post Matt getting off of work. He gets into it too, and I'm the calmer parent, I'm the careful parent, and that's the fun parent. At 7 months of marriage, we found out we were having quadruplets. And it was really funny at first because we didn't have any living children, so we had nothing to compare that to. But that pregnancy was really tough and really harrowing. But there came this point in the Mass. It was really hot in the church, and I had to sit. And the priest is going through the Eucharistic prayer, and when he gets to those words, "This is my body given up for you," it all clicked for me. Everything, all these feelings that I was having about this sacrifice that I was making, and I realized what I was being asked. This was my opportunity to lay down my life, and to give of myself in a way that I had never given before. I didn't know what it meant to give of myself. I didn't know what that actually had looked like, and I had served in all sorts of different ways, and I'd walked with my parents through the ways that they had served people. But I didn't know where that came from, what that love actually feels like, how deep and, unconditional that love can be, until they arrived, until they showed up, and it just clicked. It's really easy to just look at my life and look at these big things that have happened, like, oh, my dad died in this horrific accident, or I ended up with quadruplets. But I think that those little everyday moments are what led me to these things. The little everyday moments of my dad's life led him to be that person, and me in my grief and growing and learning and, rediscovering who I am, that those little moments led me to quadruplets, and those little moments led me to being the mother that I am today. I thought for a long time that my personality was altogether wrong, that it didn't fit this mold of like a subservient, like submissive, like quiet, docile woman. Those words have never been used to describe me. I spent a lot of my early 20s trying to like change that about myself, but really realized that that wasn't authentic feminism. Like trying to fit myself into this narrow mold of what some other person thinks that a Catholic woman should look like. I'm a Catholic woman, so this is what a Catholic woman looks like. I think that oftentimes with Catholic feminism, we try to curate like the perfect woman, and we're trying to smash ourselves into that box, and we don't need that box. God wouldn't have given me my bigger personality, my louder personality, if he didn't want me to be that way. And obviously, you don't have to temper these things, but I was made this way for a reason. My boldness helped me carry 4 babies all at once. If I don't know how I would have done that without the personality that I have.